Hi there. I'm here today with Tyler Hudson. You may remember him from the X Factor Series 5. But more than that, he is a dad to three kids, one of whom is profoundly autistic. Today, we're going to be talking about autism, about being special needs parents, and our faith and how that's impacted it. All right, everyone. I have Tyler Hudson with me. I am very excited to be talking with him. He is a singer, but most of us, I think, might know him as a dad to a profoundly autistic young man named Lyric. And I've been following you, Tyler, for a little while on Instagram. I first came across your post where you were replying to some criticism you received for another post. And so I had watched the reply, and then I went back and watched the original. And what it was you modeling how to give your son Tyler a bath. And then you received criticism, and then, like I said, you replied to that. And the whole thing just totally resonated with me because you have one son with autism and you have one daughter or two
I have two
daughters.
daughters. So Lyric is 17. He's our oldest, and he's our profoundly autistic boy. And then I have a 15-year-old daughter named Loxley and a 12-year-old daughter named Billie Jean.
Oh, I love the names.
Because you can't say her name without going bum 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 bum
I
bum bum
bet.
bum.
I bet that's awesome. That's awesome. So for those who don't know, Tyler was on the X Factor season 5, which is
Yeah,
pretty
many
cool.
many moons ago. Yeah,
But pretty
and
cool.
and also like getting to see behind the curtain of those sorts of shows. There's your talent people, and then there's your story people. And I was one of the story guys. And they also highlighted, my relationship with Lyric and what it's like having an autistic son. And this was back in 2013. So um, I think a lot of people have taken interest in our story for close to 2 decades now, which is pretty wild.
No, that's very cool, and it explains why you have such a following on Instagram too, because it is reaching people. And as a Christian, I look at that too and think that's neat that God was building a platform for you. Even, if that wasn't what that was for you, it was still happening. And
Hmm.
the scripture for such a time as this, we have to wonder why now, why are we here now, why is this happening now when we have social media, we have YouTube, we have all these ways of reaching people. And I just think that's really cool that you have the reach that you have. um, I wanted to ask you first about, just so we have a better understanding. My son is autistic. He's 6.5, and he's, I guess, what you would call high functioning.
Hmm.
I guess, like, they tell you, here's your kid
I
bath,
don't know.
and here's
Yeah.
your diagnosis, and you're like, I don't know what to do with it.
Congratulations. You're
Yeah,
high functioning.
like
Oh,
like I expected this like spectrum to be drawn on a paper in like an
yeah.
arrow, that you
You
see
are
an
here.
arrow, you were here, and I
Here
didn't
is
get
your
that.
set of instructions to navigate
Yeah.
from here for the rest of life.
Yeah,
Off you
we
go.
didn't get that. We didn't get that. So what I experienced is going to be different than any other parent. So I know what it's like with my son. Tell me what it's like with Lyric, and what does it mean that he is profoundly autistic? What's the difference there?
Yes. So, the old trope, as they say, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person
Person
with
with
autism. It's
autism.
a
Yeah.
spectrum. Um, and honestly, I believe the more that research happens, I think that autism is becoming more. It's obviously a spectrum, but I think people are really struggling to grasp that it's one thing. I think autism is like a state of being and that I think there are many reasons you can be autistic, and that's part of where I've stepped my foot in it. Um, Intentionally is to cause people to think about this, and I'm sure we'll talk about the journey of getting there. But so profoundly autistic, it's you seeing these subsets of groups naturally emerge because your TikTok autists that want to wear their diagnosis like a badge of honor compared to my son who can't speak functional sentences, has never had a conversation with anyone in his life, could only dream of being on social media, has no concept whatsoever of typing. Like these two, if they're on the same spectrum, they're completely it's almost impossible to fathom that those are the same thing.
Right.
Yet we've got this big umbrella diagnosis that says they're the same thing. And the last DSM that was released removed Asperger's, which was the higher functioning, used to have Aspie kids, and they were your more high functioning. You understood there's nothing wrong with them. They're a little bit quirky. They're different. They might socially struggle.
Mhm.
And so you had that distinct diagnosis versus profound is requiring one-to-one care, limited to no language, and is unable to support and care for themselves, basically. So
Right.
I have started saying like that my son is profoundly autistic.
Mhm.
And even that upsets people because they're like, oh, you shouldn't label him. And I'm like,
Oh,
it's not the same thing. Like if I don't label it, you don't understand what I'm talking about.
mm,
And that's
mhm,
part of my advocacy is to
mhm,
show the shadow side, if you will,
mhm.
of this is what living with profound autism is like. So you social media warriors, you keyboard warrior, social justice people who want to paint this big, beautiful picture of your quirkiness is not a disability. Yeah, I'm not talking about quirkiness. I'm talking about a 17-year-old kid who doesn't have a friend, a single friend,
Oh,
has never been invited to a party, is playing with Disney cars when he should be driving real cars.
yeah.
And I think personalities come into this a lot, and I know we'll talk about grief, but my personality is to say what you've just said is wrong, and I'm going to take your face and I'm going to force you to look at it
Yes. Yes.
until you
Yes.
admit that you don't know what you're talking about or that you can't copy and paste your experience onto mine, nor can I to you, but you need to understand that this is what reality is like for us.
Yeah. And that's why I love following you because it, I don't know if it's part personality. I think you and I actually have very similar personalities, which is very amusing to me. And but it's also experience. You've gone down this road for a while with your
Yeah.
son, and he's still this way.
Yeah.
He will always be this way.
Yeah.
And so you are able to articulate things that I think about, wonder about. You put it in terms that I'm like writing it down, like, yeah, quoting that because
Yeah.
it's very it's personable and no one can deny your experience and what you were going through. This is life for you. It is his life.
Yeah. And I've been stewing, mulling,
Mhm.
contemplating over this for the last 17 years.
Right.
Like I have had plenty of time, and I've only just begun getting active on becoming an advocate for the space, literally in the last 6 months.
Mm.
And I don't I don't particularly know what the trigger was to do that, but it's like as you said before, your platform has been being prepared. Like I've spent 17 years, and I think that's it. We're on the cusp of Lyric becoming an adult. Like
Yeah.
he's 18 next year,
Yeah.
and like our path is set. This is it. This is us for life, and all the struggle. There's no more milestones to reach. Here we are. This is it forever. So I think that's sort of the where I've decided to, right, this is the hill I'm going to die on because I'm not moving. This
Yeah.
is me for the rest of my life. So I'm going to start getting vocal about it and see what we can do for future generations.
So on the topic of advocacy, I watched a video you posted just recently. And I know I'm kind of all around the place here. We'll come back to some of these things we're just touching on. Um, you had posted this absolutely beautiful recording of your daughter Loxley reading a poem, and one that I am very, very thankful that you're going to let me publish in the book I'm writing, because it honestly makes me cry every time every time I hear it. So I'm not going to repeat it here. It's going to be in the
Me
book.
too.
But you can go to Tyler Hudson's Instagram and hear Loxley read her beautiful poem. What gets me is that you received a lot of negative feedback to this. Where people were saying that you're an ableist, which I don't even know when that term came about, but it's definitely being parried about a lot lately. And you talked about, in fact, I quoted you here. You said that parents out there, you have permission to grieve. It does not make you an ableist, it makes you a human being. That we
Yeah.
grieve the limitedness of his existence, of Lyric's existence. It doesn't make him less than, it makes him different. But it's inhuman not to be sad about that. And it's abusive to expect parents and family members not to grieve. That it's actually part of your grieving process to reframe the things like it should be. And that's called denial. Yeah, 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 that's exactly what this book is about. It's about the grieving process and the fact that parents with special needs kids, we do grieve, not because our child has died, but because we had an expectation and a thought and a hope and a prayer for what our kids would experience in life, what they should be able to experience in life. And that for whatever reason is taken away by this evil called autism or whatever the other diagnosis may be for other parents. So ableism.
Yeah, I too had to look it up. We're getting all these fancy new words from people who just have a skill at being offended at absolutely everything.
Yes.
Um, and I think that this comes from, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm just a dad, but the removal of the distinct subgroups of autism and putting
Okay.
everything under one umbrella.
Mhm.
So now when I talk about what happens on the profound
Mhm.
end, but I'm not talking about a
Mhm.
genius who's going to be sending rockets and people to Mars.
Right.
I'm talking about someone who has no friends,
Right.
who has never spoken
Right.
to other individual with any depth, other than to quote them a movie line. Like these two are not the same. And so when I speak about the reality of what it's like with my son, people get offended and say, "Oh, but no, he's you can teach him things. You can, oh, I know I can teach him things. I've been doing it for 17 years. It's a developmental delay. It's not that he won't ever achieve these things. It's that, and the comments of, "Oh, just he could go to a party. He just needs extra help." I'm like, he it's
Uh,
not that he can't functionally walk into a party and eat snacks. It's that he doesn't have a life that people would invite him to a party.
yeah.
Like it's not about the functionality,
Right.
and saying, "Oh, well, he could do things like drive go-karts." I'm like, he loves cars, but he will never be able to be licensed to drive a car. You cannot, there's no reframing that can make it say, "Oh, we just have to do something different for him." No, no, no. He will never own a car. He will never be licensed to drive one. And that makes me sad and mad
Yeah.
and angry.
Yeah.
And what really infuriates me is that you tell me that that's not reality and that, oh, we can just reframe things
Mhm.
where you feel better about his life. Whereas I'm just trying to tell you what it's like. And so you get this call of ableism, saying, and a lot of the comments on Loxley's poem that I posted are, uh, degrading her for being an ableist. And she's not on social media, thank God, by her
Mhm.
own self will. Like she's chosen, she just doesn't want to be. Like what a beautiful human she is. Um, but people saying autism doesn't need to be cured, it needs to be understood. And then I'll respond with like, imagine telling someone with MND, a neurological condition, that,
Mhm.
oh, we don't need to cure you, we just need to understand you. Imagine how belittling and minimizing that would make them feel. And the reason we do that is because we want to feel better about ourselves, because we see that pain and mystery in the world that we can't come to grips with. And so we've got to start this reframing where it all makes sense for us so that we feel better about life. And that's where that autism awareness has become autism acceptance.
Hmm. Hmm.
We sanitize it because we want to say, oh, look, here's love on the spectrum. Isn't this beautiful? And yes, yes, it is beautiful. But that's their unique story. And I'm glad that you're sharing it. But don't copy and paste that to
Hmm.
everything. And what happens is you lose the urgency. When you can see the beauty in it, you lose the urgency to prove causation. And the other thing is people are, they think you can't do one or the other. Like, that you can't, what we need to be doing is advocating to make the world a better place for these people. I totally agree. We should also be looking at why are they like this in the first place? And that's where I'm really putting my energy into trying to get people, not even to do the research themselves, to stay out of the way, to not become a social hindrance to people that are actually trying to do good research. And then the fact that it becomes political is a whole nother story.
Hmm.
Um, but the yes, with ableism is it's people's inability to do two things at once. It's people's inability to grasp that yes, this life has value and it can will be able to accomplish certain things, but it's also really sad that they're not able to live life fully. And you can be sad about that and you can still love them. And that's part of, I think, that sort of final stage of grief, that equanimity. It's just like, it's the acceptance. It's like, this is who my son is. I love him to death. Would I switch his autism off if I could? You goddamn right I would. 100% I would. Because it doesn't won't change him. It will open up his life to more possibility. And, you get I've been through seasons and I've got my grief journey charted out. You can see it via my Facebook posts over Facebook memories is the great seer of all things. It knows, nothing's as embarrassing as your Facebook post from 10 years ago, but
Hmm.
it's I've charted that on my own journey. And so I can when people talk, I know where they're at in the journey as well because
Hmm.
I have that reflection from my own 17 years of dealing with this.
So, for those who are watching this, the Kubler-Ross DABDA, the stages of grief. You've got denial and retreat, anger, bargaining, which is also seeking solutions. Then there's depression, which is also isolation or shame, and then acceptance. And it's interesting when you describe how these people are like, yeah, but he can do this. That really does sound like not just denial, but that kind of seeking solutions aspect. Like, oh, but it's not so bad if he can do this and it's just a little different. So it does
Hmm.
kind of make me wonder if those people are, if they have some experience with this with their own kids, are they trying to seek solutions and trying to find their own way to acceptance? Or, like I suspect a lot of them are just not really part of the community at all, and they just happen upon it and then they just talk out of ignorance. And I think there's just a lot of confusion in this space where, like
Yeah.
you said, people just need to get out of the way if they don't really know what they're talking about or have any loved one in the community of special needs. Just listen. You can just
Just listen and
listen.
observe.
Just listen
Yeah.
and learn. It's okay. You don't have to talk about it. Like, um, yeah, when we found out Gordon was autistic, so many people said, "Oh, well, Elon Musk is autistic."
Yeah.
And I'm
Mm.
thinking, yeah, but if my kid's not a genius, then what? And they're like, oh, but there's this guy that works at Publix and I can tell. he's autistic, but he seems really happy bagging groceries. And I'm like, oh, good. He could be a genius or he can be a bag boy. There's like
Yeah.
nowhere in between for my kid. And it's not reality. Like it's not
Yeah. And,
reality.
and I've coming from, and I'm okay, I'm not perfect, and I'm not saying I've mastered the grief cycle. Come with me, my friends. No, you can look back and I understand people's need to comfort.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
don't sometimes being silent um hurts, they don't want to make that person feel more isolated or depressed. And, so everyone's going to have their own unique experience, and you can't actually deprive anyone of it, because how are you going to get from here to
Mhm.
here? Well, you have to go through the steps. You can't jump from here to here.
Mhm.
You can't jump up to, I'm perfectly accepting of this. You've got to walk people through that grief cycle or allow them to go through it. And people are going to say stupid things.
Yeah.
They are. And I think that's where my advocacy, my brand, if you will, is to take those stupid comments and publicly display them
Mhm.
as, hey, these are things you shouldn't say. I know that, okay, you've said it. That's how you feel. That's great. I'm going to use this as education for everyone else.
Yeah.
This is how that's interpreted. So shut your mouth.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, allowing people the process to go through, but you can't force them to go through it any faster.
Let's talk about the post I mentioned in the beginning. So you were showing how you were modeling a shower for Lyric. Now, you couldn't see
Hmm.
Lyric. At one point, you saw his hand stick out of the shower curtain, but you were standing on this side and you were showing how you bathe, how you wash. Right. You had clothes on. You were just doing this. And you were very clear in the comments that this was the first time that Lyric, who is 17, was able to take a shower by himself with you just modeling what to do, that you didn't have to bathe him. And as a parent, I was like, yes, yes, go Lyric. Like, that's huge. I mean, I remember the
Yeah.
first time Gordon let us wash his hair without him having an absolute and utter meltdown, and it was last year. And we celebrated. I was like, did this just happen? What's going on? We told everybody, it it was amazing. So
Yeah.
I was all for it, but you got some negative comments.
Yeah. As you do. It's the internet. That's where negative comments exist.
Yes. And so you
Um,
you posted a reply to this. Someone said it was humiliating. And tell me,
how embarrassing for your son.
first of all, autistic people don't get embarrassed.
No?
So let's just throw that out there.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely do they get embarrassed. It doesn't register the same way. So that
Yeah.
goes to show that they don't have an autistic kid because
Yeah.
they would know that, right? Off the bat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She said, how embarrassing for your son, is the money worth humiliating him? And as if to say, like, that was my response. Like, first off, what money?
What
I'm not
money?
getting paid to do this. Like,
We're all poor.
I'm a dad I have 3 jobs. Like, I've got my day job during the week. I do disability support one day a week, and I gig on the weekends. So I'm like, I gotta work all the time, and I'm not making money off of social media.
No.
I'm putting this out there to be of assistance to other families that are in the
Right.
same journey. So anyway, and I just I chose her of, thousands of comments of, right, right. It's embarrassing to you, but it's a freaking milestone for us that we're going to celebrate. And this is what makes us different. You have no idea what we've gone through to get to this stage. And everything you said, like, I showed my son the video. He's not embarrassed. He's like, oh, that's Lyric. Like, he's doesn't care that someone's seen it. He wouldn't care if you saw him naked. I mean, I'm not obviously not
No.
going to put him up there, but he does not care.
Right. Was he
Um,
proud of himself that he was able to take a shower by himself? Did it
well,
register
and that's the other
him?
thing. Like, no, it was just the thing that he completed the task we'd asked him to
Yes.
do, but he doesn't understand the importance of it.
Right.
He doesn't celebrate it like we do,
Right.
and so
But
that's
you
the
did.
whole. We're, yeah. And he's just
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna dry off and put my
Right.
pajamas on. You know,
Windsuffer,
he,
right.
yeah, that's right. So we celebrate, but he's not there.
I
And
quoted you as saying, what you call humiliating, we call progress.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that that really resonated because I knew I wanted to start working on a book like this for a while. And it's like, what do I share? What do I write down? I don't ever want to put something out there like a video that he's going to be embarrassed about later. Of course, now I know he's not. He's not going to be embarrassed about it. But I still don't want to do anything that I would be, I'm just a
yeah,
mom. I want to be careful. Social media,
absolutely.
is scary for all of us. And so it's like I never really talked about the meltdowns and I never really talked about the stress that we were under or that we were doing it alone or that we were really struggling for a very long time and that we still struggle with different things even though he's doing great. We're still struggling with
Yeah,
certain things.
yeah,
And so I kind of inadvertently hid a lot of the milestones because I wasn't talking about the struggle. And so it's hard to say, oh, we washed his hair today when people have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean you watched it today? Well, it's been months. And the last
yeah.
time he had such a meltdown
Oh,
on for
how
hours.
embarrassing. That's
Right. How
disgusting.
embarrassing.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. And like I I think of myself as having a thick skin, but when you come after me and my kid, like we're going to have words. And so I didn't know if I could handle putting it on social media. I didn't know what. So I am loving the fact that what you're doing represents so many of us out
hmm.
there. It's not just you and your son and your family. I think there's so many of us like, yeah, we did that. We did that. Like it really is important to our
Yeah,
families and it's encouraging to me. So like this week I shared a little reel of my own about, some big milestones we had this week. A lot of people around me don't care. Family and friends don't get it. But I
yeah,
know in the autism community or special needs community, someone else is going to be like, oh, I can't wait for my kid to be able to do
yeah.
that.
Oh, that
And
gives me hope for my kid. Yeah,
yes, it gives me hope. And so I think that's important that we continue to do that and create our own community and our own safe place where we can encourage each other, not only in the physical milestones for our kids, but also our emotional milestones as parents, because we are going through this grief cycle. We are going through the emotional roller coaster, and we need to encourage each other through that
yeah,
because
yeah,
nothing is more alienating than having a special needs kid.
yeah. Absolutely. And in part of that, like it can be all consuming.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's what we're finding. Like I just got a message yesterday from yet another kid that was in our church small group that we, had spent years and years and years with. Of those 10 couples, you know, there's probably half of them have kids on the spectrum now. And it's like that's not like
That's not
that's
normal.
not it's
No.
not normal.
And you're in
And
Tasmania now, right?
yes, yeah, I'm way down in Tasmania. So maybe I'll just tell my story about
Go
how I got
ahead.
here.
Do it.
So
Yes.
Lyric was born in Texas, which is where I'm from originally. My wife is Australian, and we got married in Australia, and then we moved to Texas for a few years. We were working in a church in the Panhandle of Texas, and um, so Lyric was born there, and then I'll write my own book about this 1 year of life at some stage. But for many reasons, we moved back to Australia in 2009. And when we got back to Australia, so Lyric he was about 16 months. And from 12 months on, like he had progressed totally normal, was meeting all his milestones, was talking, had language, and then he just
Man.
stopped progressing and then started going backwards. What the language he had was lost. And so, even way back then before and we had been through a very traumatic experience. My wife was in a car accident with Lyric. She'd suffered massive head trauma. He was miraculously fine, not a scratch on him. But she was unwell. So I decided to move her back to Australia so she could be with her family. She was homesick. Um, and so there was a lot going on in our life at the time. And but as we knew something like Lyric had stopped growing, we thought, oh, it's just stunted. It's just a developmental delay due to everything that's going on, So here's
How old
this.
was he?
He was 12 months. So, and we really started to notice between 12 and 18 months, there was no progress made whatsoever. And then by two, he had been diagnosed with autism. So became aloof. The words he had completely stopped. Just very bizarre behaviors like um, screaming in the middle of the night, refusing, couldn't be comforted, like he was in pain of some sort. Um, so we had begun this process, and that's that first stage of grief, which was the denial and the retreat. I was like, oh, he'll be fine. He's just slow.
Yeah.
We'll just calm down. Let's get settled back here in Australia. Let's get him enrolled in early childhood stuff, and okay, he'll be fine. So
Yeah.
for the first year, we spent just denying that there was an issue at all, right? Because that's how you cope.
Mhm.
Um, and then so the uniqueness of a lot of your readers probably won't relate to this, but I was raised in small town Texas where the prosperity gospel is alive and well.
Mhm.
And my worldview is that it was God's job to make me healthy, wealthy, and blessed. And if I wasn't healthy, wealthy, and blessed, then I had done something wrong, or he wasn't holding up his end of the bargain. And it was my job to make God hold up his end of the bargain by reminding him how awesome I am. So, because in this worldview, autism has no place. It does not fit within my frame of reference.
Yeah.
The spirituality I bought into, this does not exist because this is not prosperity. So it has got to go.
Good point.
Um, so we come through the denial, and then comes the next stage of the anger and aggression. And for me, that manifested like because I'd met my wife at Bible college. We were red hot, passionate for Jesus. Um, with our brand of Christianity, we were going to sell to the world, which is that Jesus can make you healthy, wealthy, and blessed as well. Um, so
Yeah.
that anger and aggression manifested from me spiritually. It became the why God, why me? Um, what did we do? Someone's to blame. If it's me, if it's, you know, I don't know who it is, but someone's to blame because this does not add up. This is not the God math I was raised with because I had no frame of reference. I was not prepared that life happens to everyone because you're sold this beautiful, shiny Jesus that's going to make everything perfect. And you skip over those those parts of the Bible that talk about trials and suffering. You know, Jesus is there to save you from that. That's not what's going to happen to you. Um,
Yeah.
so for instance, my dad, God bless him, he'd come down to visit Australia, and he said, "You know why Lyric's got that autism, don't you?" I said,
Oh no.
"No, Dad, why's that?" He said, "He got a demonic spirit from that cage fighting you've been watching in the house." You know, because I'm the priest of my home. I've watched Ultimate Fighting Championship in the house, therefore letting in a demon into my house to possess my son.
Hmm.
I mean, this is the type of, and at the time, I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. So then started this, my anger and aggression then turned into the next stage of seeking control, seeking solutions. So what
Okay.
did I do? Fasted, prayed, pulled every skeleton out of the closet, apologized for getting tattoos, repented for any foreign substance that had entered my body. Me and the wife, we went and we listed every single sin we'd ever committed to each other. We confessed because this does not fit. We have to get rid of this.
Yeah.
And began seeking to control by becoming masters of the universe. And God was going to become our galactic Coke machine. Because if I punch in the right numbers, out will pop my miracle. So Lyric by this time, so this was probably while Lyric was age 2 through to 7, we were in this seeking control.
Were you also seeking therapy at this time, or was it all spiritual?
We were doing what we could. Yeah. Pray like it depends on God, work like it depends on us. So he was with speech pathologists, he was with OTs.
Okay.
We were trying to manage it, but we knew the solution was going to be spiritual, right? We were
Okay.
just convinced of it. And Lyric was going to be this miracle that why was this son born deaf? Oh, so that the works of God could be revealed. And it was like, okay, well, I'm hanging on to that one. Lyric was made this way so that God can heal him, so that we can say, hey, world, look, my son was healed. How awesome is God? That was the end goal. Um, and we spent so then it became we're seeking out these stories. Oh, this person's written a book, this person's gotten their child healed. We need to go to these places, we need to get these people to lay hands on him. And we spent tens of thousands of dollars traveling around the world getting the right people to lay hands on my son. And we went to a place I'll probably tell you, you can delete it if you want, but we went to Bethel Church in Northern California.
Yeah.
Got right into them because they were this group of people, right, that was trying to pull the promises of heaven into the now. They were trying to live in that now, and I'm like, that's where we need to be. Like, we want that future promise now. It's still sort of this prosperity gospel thing, but they do these things called sozos, which are it's like a spiritually, like a Holy Spirit guided counseling session, right? So it's sort of they sit with you and you talk about what's going on, and they guide you spiritually into potential solutions or pitfalls you need to watch out for. Without a word of a lie, I'd booked my solo session in, and the first 30 seconds, I sat in that room, and the guy sitting across from me said, Holy Spirit says, whatever's going on with your son is not your fault, and it has nothing to do with you. And I lost it. And then I got more angry. I said, that is not acceptable. I need to know why he's this way. I need an answer because I cannot move on from life with this hanging over my head. And he said, "This is not how it works. This is what the Holy Spirit's saying. That's not your problem, and it has nothing to do with you." And I went home or went to the hotel that night, got angry, called up, found his manager, the person in charge of the whole Sozo, and I'm like, "I've flown from Australia to California. I've
Oh,
paid this much money to get my son the answers he needs. I'm not accepting this." And she said, "Oh, I'll be happy to sit with you tomorrow." So we came, she met with him. She's like, there's there's nothing spiritual going on here. I don't feel there's any spirit. And we were trying to tick that. All right, is Lyric going to be healed from a spiritual point of view, or is it going to be medical
yeah.
point of view? That's where we were,
Yeah.
because he's going to be healed.
Right.
He's
We get
going
it.
to be healed. Watch this.
Mhm.
And that sort of just eliminated that time in our life. All the answers we got there. I say we didn't get the answers we wanted. We got the answers we needed, which was just let go of it. Just let go. And from that point, I stopped seeing my son as a problem to be fixed. And I had to let go of trying to fix him. And he just became my son to love. And that sent us into the next phase of our grief cycle, which was depression, isolation, and shame. Because I'd had this problem that I couldn't solve, and I didn't know what to do. And I spent years as a preacher, and that's when X Factor was happening as well. So in my little town, in my wife's little town in Victoria, like, everyone had known me from as a preacher that was on TV. And now I'm no longer preaching, and I'm no longer on TV. And everywhere he went, everybody's like, "Oh, when you coming back to church?" or when are you going to be on TV again? And I just got so sick of that. And we came down to Tasmania on a holiday, and I was like, this place is awesome. I mean, it felt like you landed in 1995. Like it's the wilderness.
It's,
They've wound back the clock. So we moved down here just to start fresh, to be who we wanted to be, to not be bound by society's expectations. Um, and with that, in that depression started this deconstruction of my faith. So it's like, okay, this is what I was taught to believe. If, by his stripes we are healed. But if that's not the case, and if the counseling right now is to just be at peace and be at rest with it, and it's not my fault, and not to strive to fix him, all right, well, that's not what I was taught to believe. So you start peeling that layer back, and it's like, well, what else have I been told that's not accurate? That's not actually how it is. And so God became from this little tiny prosperity gospel, God, you're right inside here. I'm the master of the universe and I control you. And it became, I realized that, okay, that's not true. So that illusion dispelled and became, I realized that God was a lot bigger than just that. And he's not bound to that. And that there's absolutely a lot of mystery in it. And I went to the bottom of the barrel. I was like, okay, I need to find out if any of this is true. So I read all the. It's funny, you can tell a person about their Facebook memories and their Kindle library. You can see the here's the faith healing, here's the Richard Dawkins and atheist, and I'm like, look, give it to me. Hit me with the best minds on the planet that say why God doesn't exist, and I'm going to read them because I'm not coming back to this place. I'm digging out the barrel. I want to because I need to find out what I actually believe. And I will say that I find it my spirituality has opened up so much that it is hard to put form to. Um, and we're still reforming that. So I would say that I am a Christian, but I do not believe in the Christ I was raised to believe in, if that makes sense. Like it's changed from my father's
Mhm.
Christ, and it's something different. And anytime, we've gotten into certain thought leaders and speakers that, anytime you say God, you say less than God. Like all of the language surrounding God is metaphor. Because if God is God, how could you describe it in words? Like there wouldn't be, and this is this imagine like exceedingly abundantly more. Like it's just
Mhm.
we paint a picture that we can understand in order to tell somebody the story. All of that's metaphor. That's not God. That's the stories we tell about God. And how difficult it is to build something out of that because it's so aloof. You need structure. So that's currently where we're at, finding that structure and um hopefully rebuilding faith from that. But that deconstruction came with my son being the way he is. Like it just totally destroyed our worldview because it didn't fit any longer. So then from there, just to complete the cycle, and now it's active acceptance. As you said, I know there is no changing this. And it's that equanimity, and I had to Google that, but equanimity means I can absorb all of you can hold the things in tension. I would absolutely cure my son, and there's no way I could love him any more than I do right now. And people can't, it's one or the other, but that equanimity allows you to just take it on. And I don't go to those deep dark places anymore because I've been there and I've come out and I know what that's like. But so you go through the cycles, but with each one you sort of transcend and include. Like you go, but you bring that experience with you. And it's not like you leave that depression down there. That's with you because you've picked it up. It's part of your journey now. You still seek to control, like it's part of your journey now. And then I think what I'm really battling with now is just to complete the whole grief cycle. I wonder if I've started again based on the fact that my daughter has a boyfriend.
Yeah.
She is going to get married in probably the next 10 years. If we don't do something as a society, she will likely have the same experience her parents had. Because if autism is genetic, as people want to claim, then she's doomed to experience the same life. And I would rather her not do that. I would rather her kids have the opportunity to have a life free of limitation. This makes me an ableist. This makes me a terrible person, according to the internet. But so I think I'm now going through this grief cycle again for my future grandkids. And right now I'm in the anger and aggression stage
Yeah.
because we're 10 years prior to it affecting my grandkids. And I want to do absolutely everything I can to make sure they have the information that they deserve to make the best decision possible for their kids. So I honestly, I don't know if you can do that, but I'm now grieving my grandkids,
Yeah. No, I
and
think you can.
I'm wanting to advocate for them. And so I'm stuck in this anger and aggression phase to try to use that as advocacy to get society to care about future generations. And that's the other thing that floors me at some of these comments I'm getting. It's like, oh well, if this administration does this, well, it doesn't do anything to change the lives of autistic people. I'm like, yeah, not the ones that we've got right now, but it can help future generations. And not being able to see further than just right in front of you
Mhm.
is something we have to deal with. We've got to start projecting further down the line so that we can get our kids the help that they need.
I agree.
So I think that's where I'm at with everything.
I think
As far
I appreciate you sharing that, and I love your story and your honesty. Um, what you talk about the grief cycle being cyclical, absolutely. I've talked with another mom with a child with several diagnoses, including profound uh, or including autism. He has a profound disability, including autism, and um, she says that
and that's sorry, that just goes more to the point that autism is just a state of being. Like you, because there's comorbidities with autism all the time. Like
yeah,
it's not this, oh, he's got this diagnosis. It's like, no, there's something that's happening and it has put him in this
yes.
state that we call autism. So you can get there many different ways.
Yes, yes, I agree. There's lots of comorbidities. But she is in a similar state you're in. In fact, her son, I think, is 21, and she had to create a group home in order for her son to have somewhere to live because he needed to move out and needed more care than she was able to provide for him. So she literally created a group home for him. And she said that now they're going through that. She's going through grief again because he's developing into this new phase. So, what's also interesting, Dr. Eichenstein of that book, Not What I Expected, she says that when we're grieving over our kids with special needs, it is different than over the loss of a loved one in that we don't have to go in order and we can
Yeah.
bounce from one state to another, even in one day. And
Yes.
that I was like, yeah, I get that. I can be angry in the morning and I can bargain in the afternoon, I'm not limited to
Yeah.
one. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah. What you're feeling is definitely
Yeah.
something we're all going through.
We went on vacation, as you call it in America, in April, and I decided I was just going to post a little video because the girls are down at the pool swimming. Lyric had been there the previous 2 days, but on the third day, he was just done. He had the self-awareness to know I'm not going to the pool. I'm going to stay in the hotel room and I'm just going to watch.
Good.
I'm going to flip the pictures on my iPad. Of course, he doesn't say this. He just
Right.
goes, no,
Right.
That's okay. He's regulating himself. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, that's what
But
I'm thinking.
on
Good for
another edge,
him.
you're looking at your two neurologically typical girls enjoying themselves, and you've got one that's trapped in that,
Yeah,
and it makes you sad.
yeah.
And it's just this little bit of grief that you experience, just a little bit of grief all day, every day, because and when we first started this journey, I was giving guitar lessons to a girl, and she was actually deaf in one ear. And I was talking to the mom. I was like, "What's that been like?" She said, having a disabled child is like it's like planning a vacation. You're planning to go to Europe, and you end up in America.
Hmm.
It's it's just different. It's not bad. You just didn't arrive where you thought you would.
Hmm.
So, and that hit me. It's like, it's true. Like, we're still functioning, we're still alive, we're still living our lives. It's just not like we thought it was going to be. And what do you do with that?
Hmm.
Well, you grieve it. And it doesn't have to be tears and counseling. It's just a little bit of sadness that,
Yeah.
and the thing that gets me every time, and we were watching a movie, and a father is playing catch with his son in the yard.
Yeah.
Every time I cry
Yeah.
because I'll never get to do that. I've tried and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's those little things that are always there right under the surface that make you realize there's just the sadness that's right there. And if you don't if you don't deal with that, if you don't express it, if you don't let it out, it's gonna manifest itself in some
Hmm.
terrible way. My therapist reminds me, if you push it down, it comes out sideways.
Hmm.
And I think that's my message to parents. Like, you can grieve. You will continue to grieve. Don't pretend you're not grieving. It's okay to grieve. Because if you don't, it's gonna poison your soul. You're going to have this anger and resentment and frustration. You need to be able to just say, "Hey, my son missed this milestone today, and it really makes me sad." And have people around you that go, "I've been there. It's tough. I'm here for you." There are no answers. I can't solve it for you, but I can listen to you, and I can hear your experience and validate it and say you're allowed to feel this way.
Yeah. I think that's the absolute best message for parents. Yeah. Yeah. Thank
I
you.
mean, I want to be able to fix it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, and maybe this is the seeking control part of my next cyclical phase. I'm to, you know what? The science states that it's a genetic vulnerability, but there are environmental triggers. Let's find those environmental triggers, shall we? Does
And
that feel like a good idea? I mean,
yes.
that's what the science states. So rather than just accepting this as normal, there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. Let's go to the bottom of that barrel as many times as we need to try to find those environmental factors, whatever they may be.
Hmm.
And let's hold accountable the powers that be to give us that information. And if they can't find it and it ends up being nothing, well, at least we looked.
Yeah.
But what I don't want to do is just say, "Oh, there's nothing you can do about it." Just accept it. Just accept it. Hey, daughters of mine who are guaranteed to have autistic children, if if it is just genetic, just accept it. Don't worry about trying to make an informed decision before you have kids. Like, what sort of grandparent would do that? Like, you want to be able to give your kids a wealth of knowledge. And so that's what we're advocating for. And I think that we can get there as a society if we choose to. But the first step is realizing there's something wrong. Can we all admit that there's something wrong? And that doesn't mean we don't love these beautiful kids, but can we give the next generation a better chance at living a fuller life?
Yeah. Yeah. And we won't be able to do that if we can't utter the words something wrong.
And so in society, every majority of people who are only just starting this, they're in denial
Hmm.
that there's something wrong. That's
Yeah.
their state of grief.
Right.
And there's going to be a heck of a whole lot of grieving if information shows that over decades and decades and decades that there was something that we unknowingly as a society allowed in our food or air or atmosphere or bodies or medicines or whatever
Mhm.
that ended up causing this state. Oh man, are we going to need grief counselors? Absolutely.
Yeah. I know when I
And
was diagnosed, I was like, what did I do? We were so careful to eat well. I Vaccines is a whole other conversation, and I
yeah,
went about that very thoughtfully. Let's just put it that way. And yet here he is. And I know other people who did everything they possibly could to avoid, specifically to avoid autism. And
yeah,
so I was like, there's no hope for any of us. I mean, unless God
mm,
Himself decides it's not going to happen to your kid, you're
yeah,
playing Russian roulette.
yes,
And it's extremely scary. I was talking to an older woman this week trying to explain this, and she said, "Well, why were you afraid of autism specifically?" And I was like, "Because it's everywhere. Because it's
mm,
everywhere.
mm,
California's 1 in 12 boys now. Like
yeah,
it's everywhere. It's more likely than anything else here in the States. I'm assuming similar to what you just said a little bit
yep,
ago, similar down in Australia. I mean,
yep.
Western societies, it's very prevalent. So yeah, it's on people's minds. And it seems that
There has to be a reason. Causation is
yeah,
not correlation until causation is proved, and
right.
then I can
Until it's
continue.
there.
It's
But
got to be a correlation.
right, right. And so
Just because you haven't found the link doesn't mean the link is not there. Keep looking for the link in all things, and that's what I'm wanting. That's what I'm encouraging the medical community to do. Keep
So,
looking.
how do you propose we become advocates? I like to use the word advocate, but I'm sitting here thinking, what can I do? Obviously, we're in different countries, so there's
Yeah.
different things we can be a part of. You have a platform. You just posting things is a big part of advocacy. But are there other things that you found that you can be a part of that can push the needle, so to speak?
It's really tricky. For me, I want to show the shadow side of things. For people that cry autism acceptance, I say, okay, you want to accept autism? Have a look at this.
Yeah.
I want to show you this is what, and that does get tricky. I've said in one of my posts that one time I've shared a meltdown and people were furious. They like, oh, you shouldn't post that. You don't have his consent. Um, and so my question is, are you accepting of autism if you don't accept all of autism?
Right. The
So
no.
you're accepting of the quirky geniuses.
Right.
How about the fecal smearing,
Yeah.
manic, like potty training?
Yeah.
We gave up
Yeah.
at 2. We gave up. And, he sorted it out himself at 7. 5 years.
Hey, I'm
We
impressed he did at 7. There's a lot that will never potty train.
we're so grateful. We're
Yeah.
grateful. But you know what? We stopped trying to control him and we stopped giving him time to sit on the toilet and was like, you know what? If he's gonna crap himself, he's gonna get uncomfortable and he'll figure it out eventually. It took him 5 years, but he did it.
Wow. I'm
You
impressed
know,
he did. That's awesome.
yeah. Because we gave up. We just gave up.
Yeah. Because there's
Um,
no manual. There's no one to sit by your side and tell you what to do day in and day out. You have to go by his ability and your ability, your emotional ability.
yeah. So how do we advocate? Like I think for me it's showing the shadow side, but also showing I could not love my son any more than I currently do. And I think it's holding that tension of
Mhm.
this is not something to be fought against. This is a people to be fought for.
Yes.
And It's merging those two things together. But step one, admitting something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's getting people past the denial stage of their own grief for society, even if they're not directly affected by a disability of any sort. It's painful to think that you're in a society where people are struggling. So you
Hmm.
just decide that they're not struggling.
Hmm.
You deny that it's a struggle.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you move people along. I was like, okay, that's not working because that's ignoring reality.
Yeah.
So can
Very.
I move you along the grief cycle? Can I get you angry with me?
Yeah.
Let's get angry. Let's get
I
angry
love
about
that.
this.
At least move it into anger. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
And you know what? I like that. I don't know how I know it, but I've said this a lot on my posts, but I know that in 50 years' time, the cause of autism will be self-evident.
Hmm.
Our grandkids will look back and go, I can't believe they didn't see that
Hmm.
because we're right here.
Hmm.
We can't see it. Fast
Or,
forward, they'll go like, it's going to be so obvious what
or
it
we do
was,
know, but it's hidden.
but this is what will happen. There, people are waking up and people are making their own choices,
Yeah.
and the next generation will be the case study.
Yeah.
Because let's say, this administration produces evidence of a link. No one's going to believe them. Those that haven't had kids will listen. They might make different choices and say, well, if it's Russian roulette, I'm going to risk it. And then we'll see the numbers with the next generation.
Hmm.
I don't think that's the best way to do it, but if that's the only option available to us, like I know what my girls are going to do because they've heard the stories like we of hundreds of thousands of parents who all have the exact same story. And again, that's not to say that you can only get autism from one thing, but it's a state of being. You can get there in many different ways.
Yeah.
But I think people getting angry about it is probably a good start. So that's why I'm here.
I love it. I love it. Yes, you're an instigator. I like it. Stir the
Well,
pot.
that's
We need
that's
it.
what there's plenty of mothering and nurturing
Yes.
types in the advocacy space, and there's not a lot of people in here saying, "I'm going to force you to look at this, and you can't ignore me. You can block me if you want, but I'm getting this
Yeah.
message out
Right.
because you do need a disruptor. You need some
Yes.
disruptors in this to prod
I like
to
that
prod people back.
disruptor. Okay, so
Hmm.
I want to end on something funny, and I didn't warn you about this because it was something I thought of since we emailed. Throughout the book, I want to insert some humor
Yeah.
because grief is heavy. We let's deal with it, but there's also a lot of humor just in kids. In general, they're kids. So I have little stories that where Gordon has just, oh my gosh, he's hilarious. He's such a jokester. His sense of humor is just off the chain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you post about how Lyric has no filter and will say
Um,
anything to anybody to the point, and I did want to mention this, that he wears a special badge, right? And what does it say?
it says, "I have autism. Please be patient with me."
And and I love that. I love that because you've enabled him to interact with people where they now give him the benefit of the doubt where they might not have
Yeah.
otherwise. Is that how that
It,
works?
just on the badge quickly, like yesterday, we went out and three or four, because he's very social,
Yeah.
but he speaks in Gestalt language, echolalia. He
Uh-huh.
will come up to you and quote you a movie, but he
Yeah.
doesn't speak clearly enough for you to understand. You can't understand what he's saying. He knows what he's saying, and I know what he's saying because I know what movies he's quoting.
Right.
He'll come right up to strangers, get right in their face.
Yes.
Um, but when they see the badge, so that it takes that encounter, which is going to be very
Yeah.
intimidating, this
Yeah.
teenage boy walking up in your
Yeah. Because he's
face.
a tall guy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's nearly as tall as me.
Yeah.
But when they see that badge, they're invited to engage him in an inclusive way,
Yeah.
and they feel good about themselves by being patient with him.
Yeah.
And so all the people that say, "Oh, you shouldn't label him," I'm like, I'm helping him. I'm reminding society to be kind and patient and to not freak out. And so the badge works wonders, and that's my brilliant wife. She came up with that. And you know what? It was rooted in I just want to be able to sit down and have a coffee and not put him on a leash to control him. I want him to be free, and he's going to wander over to those people, and I just want to sit and drink a coffee real fast. It
Hmm.
it was birthed out of I don't want to get up. I don't want to restrain him all the time. He needs to be free, and
Hmm.
that badge just helps explain. But yeah, some of the funny stories. Um, we were in the grocery store the other day, and I'm scanning things through, and he turns around, gets right up to the guy right behind him, and says, "I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle." Starts quoting him Terminator, right? And fortunately, this guy knew the movie, and he's like, "Oh, Terminator, come on, man!" Of course, he saw the badge and realized that things were not normal, and engaged him, and it was beautiful. But
Oh.
that's Lyric has always spoken movie lines, and in fact, the first words post as he started coming out of not coming out of, but because he's still nonverbal, as we say.
Hmm.
First sentence we ever heard him speak, he would have been 4 years old, and he's an absconder. Um, actually, on my Instagram, if you use the hashtag spot the lyric, there's tags where we've just found him in the most random places. Um, so he would like to run away, and we couldn't find him. We'd lost him at the house. It was 4 years old. Couldn't
Oh.
find him, and we're just looking outside. He'd climbed up the water spout on the brick wall, pulled himself up on the gutter, crawled to the very tip top of the roof at the peak of the house. 4 years old.
Hmm.
And I just hear him. When we spotted him, he says, "Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave." From Penguins of Madagascar.
Oh,
And it's like that was the first sentence he ever spoke.
yeah.
You know, he's like Bumblebee Transformers that only speaks through the radio. Lyric
Which is
mainly
very
speaks.
common for autistic people. It's very
Yeah.
common.
You got a filing cabinet of
Hmm.
these are expressions I know. I know the sounds they make, and they fit the scenario. Like he was probably 6 years old. Um, it, we were just about on the last week of the term at school, trying to encourage him to go to. He didn't want to go to school, and I'm encouraging him, and it's like just one more week, buddy. And we just watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and there's this scene where the dad is trying to encourage the son, and the son's just not having it. So here I am in this scenario. I'm trying to encourage him, and Lyric says, "Dad, I don't understand fishing metaphors," like which is what he said in the movie,
Yes.
but it was
Yeah.
his way of telling me this is not helping.
Yes.
Shut up. Um, so yeah, lots of funny moments, and then the no filter has gotten us into a lot of trouble. You know, it's funny. Lyric he doesn't speak in plain English a lot of times, but unless someone, and this is what's ironic about it, if someone has a disability or is different in any way, he can recognize that they're different. So, for instance, you know, we walked into a cafe once, and the guy had a lazy eye, and Lyric walks in, he just points straight at his face and goes, "Look, his eye." And it's like, oh. And again, that's where the badge is helpful. It helps take the sting out of those sorts of scenarios. But yeah, lots of walking by the on the beach. There were some bigger ladies there, and he just walks past them and grabs his shirt, pulls his shirt out, and he goes, "Oh, too big, too big." So
Yeah.
there's never a dull moment with him around. That's for sure.
This is hard. Oh my goodness. Well, we love to watch Lyric. We love to hear the stories. I think he's just a precious soul, and again, your daughter's poem was just we love her because of her words, even though she's not even on there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing, like the emotional intelligence, the depth of experience that his sisters will have simply
Yes.
by having had him as a brother. And again, we try not to let them live under the weight of that. We want them to go live their own lives, have their families, move wherever they want to go, and go live a full life. Like that, they're entitled to do that. But their sister heart knows that
Mhm.
they're going to at least at minimum have to administrate his care after we're gone, if they choose not to have him in a home. But like the perfect job for Lyric would be to be Santa Claus or Santa's little helper. Like every holiday he loves being the Easter bunny.
Oh,
So he's this eternal toddler
yes.
that and he loves little kids, and I
Yeah.
think he'll be a great uncle to,
Yeah. Sure.
and they'll want him to be close, and they'll make that a part of their kids' experiences of having Lyric as their uncle. Um, but yeah, they're fantastic human beings, my daughters.
Yeah.
Just because they've had got to live with Lyric, so
Yeah.
we're
Yeah. We
great.
don't know why God chose our kids, in our families and why our kids have to struggle. But I think unanimously that's one thing we can agree on is that the world's a better place with our kids in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much, Tyler, for all of this. I can't wait to pull from this, and it will definitely enrich the book, and it's definitely going to encourage other families. I'm going to include links in the video for everyone so that they can find you and follow your journey. So
Cool.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you for having me, and look forward to reading it myself.
Thank you very much.